We managed to capture the eggs, Your Highness. Every last one.
Excellent. Maybe you will amount to something after all. Now, go guard the tunnels. Stop anyone from coming through.
Where are the eggs?
The holes came out on the other side of the dragon worlds. We found some of the eggs, but they were too heavy to carry back.
The other side of the world?
The Forgotten Worlds. Spyro, you'll have to go. Nobody else can fit down the holes.
Yeah, come on, let's go!
Find the eggs and bring them back, Spyro. You're our only chance.
You got it.
Yo guys, Jarek the Game of Dragon here, and I'm going to be playing some Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon. I beat Spyro 1, I 100%ed Spyro 2, and now I'm going to move on to Spyro 3. In this game, when it comes to nostalgia, I can really talk about this game, because this is the only game, the only Spyro game back in the day that I actually played on the PlayStation 1. I never played Spyro 1, I didn't play Spyro 2, until I went back, you know, 10 years down the line, and beat them in an emulator. So this was really the only one I played on PlayStation 1, and just to get this nostalgia factor out, I'm going to let you listen to the music here in just a little bit. Okay, now that I got that out, as soon as I saw the world and heard the music, I was like, oh god, I remember this. I remember this so well. This is, what, a little over, 12 years ago, probably? Yeah, so, I mean, just one of the games that I remember playing really well back in the day, and, it has a certain place in your mind that it will just never leave.
So,
So, you're the one in charge of rescuing the eggs, huh? How sad. Look here, Dragon. If you know what's good for you, you'll turn around and crawl back up that hole you came through. Those eggs belong to us now, and I've hidden them in places you'll never find in 1,000 years. Besides, even if you could find an egg, our expertly trained armies will dispose of you and take it back. Do I make myself clear? If I find you here again, I am going to be very angry, and you won't like me when I'm angry.
Bitch, don't try to intimidate me. You ride on fucking rainbows. That's not very intimidating. Oh, hey, look, it's Moneyfags. That's probably one character in the Spyro games that everybody hates, but Insomniac purposely wanted you to hate him. And, really, when I go back in the day and I play it now, it's not really angry. I mean, he doesn't really make me angry because you're not using those gems anywhere. They're just there.
Spyro! My, how funny to see you here. Why, I haven't seen you since we defeated Ripto in Avalar. Well, my business went into a slump after you left, so I came here and struck up a nice deal with the local sorceress. Lovely woman she is. Seems to be very fond of dragons, too. The sorceress has asked me to guard Sheila the kangaroo. I suppose if you had a bit more money, I'd be willing to let her escape. Then you could keep her for a pet or something. The sorceress has asked...
Completely accidental. I do that a lot. Where I'll want to hold down the triangle button, which I'm using a 360 controller, so it's Y for me. I want to hold that down, then I start talking to someone. It's like, damn it, I didn't mean to do that.
Yo, Spyro! I just found one of those portal thingamajigs that leads to a different world, but you'll have to glide to get across to it. Press the X button to jump, then press the X button again while you're in the air to glide. Just follow me.
So this is the first world in Spyro. It's pretty much a tutorial, and I'm going to be interrupting this.
Saw something shiny in that cave over there. Let's go check it out. You can get there by hovering. To hover, just press the triangle button at the end of your glide.
Of which I promptly don't even bother to hover because I really don't need to if you start running first.
Oh, I almost forgot. I found this egg.
Oh god, Coltrane. Gears of War. That's where they got it from. Joking around. Anyway, like I said, this is the very first world in Spyro 3. This is Sunrise Springs, I believe. Oh great, she's gonna interrupt me.
This is a Superfly power-up, Spyro. Whenever you walk through any power-up that looks like this one, it will allow you to fly for a while.
So yeah, Sunrise Springs. This is the very first dose of any Spyro gameplay I ever got on this world, and this is gonna be probably the most nostalgic part of Spyro 3 if you've played Spyro 3. Just because it's the very first level in it, and the music and everything, obviously everyone's going to put a lot of effort into your first impressions, and Insomniac definitely does that very, very well. And while I'm in the topic of nostalgia back in the day, playing on the PlayStation 1, just list a few other games. Let's see, out of my top 10 nostalgic lists, Half-Life is probably number one. I just gotta say, I played a lot of Half-Life back in the day. I love Half-Life. I still gotta put it as probably my favorite game of all time. It's probably Half-Life 1. Love the thing. So yeah, it's definitely number one on my list. Actually, no, maybe that's a maybe. It's got to be a toss-up between Half-Life 1 and the original Pokemon games, more specifically Pokemon Crystal. I played a lot of Crystal for some reason, and everyone always says, no, first 150 Pokemon, after that it's shit. But in all reality, Pokemon actually never really changed for the first, like, three seasons or so. Really what happened is that people grew up, and the second season, it was fine, really. It basically was the same thing, and the Pokemon didn't really look that stupid at all. In fact, what they did is that they made the first and second generation Pokemon at the same exact time. They didn't make them separately. They made them at the same time and then just released the second ones later. So really it did feel like the same thing, and I liked Crystal actually more than the original ones, just because you got to play it in both Johto and Hoenn. Or not Hoenn, what the hell am I talking about? Indigo. That's what I meant to say.
I'm late for a dinner party at the Tiki Lodge, and the portal to my home just stopped working. Maybe the portal will reactivate after a few more dragons hatch.
Yeah, ultimately, what makes a game nostalgic? And I just gotta say, normally the games that are nostalgic are adventure games. Because when they do an adventure game right, there are things in that game that you are going to remember really well, because you have music that's very specific to certain parts of the world, you have wide, huge areas around you, you can travel in any part of that area. I'm gonna be interrupted here.
I see an egg at the bottom of this lake. I would go get it, but I don't want to get my fur all wet. Maybe you could get it. You can dive underwater by pressing the square button when you're on the surface, and charge underwater by holding down the square button.
But yeah, as I was saying, huge areas, music that are normally, the better the music, the more nostalgic it is usually. Let's just make an example. Let's look at the Ocarina of Time. When you hear music, like say music that plays in the Hyrule Field, you have a very specific image in your brain of you standing in the Hyrule Field. Maybe it's you looking at the castle, maybe it's you looking off of that bridge. It's you looking in a very specific direction. You have a very, very specific image in your head. And that's really what, when people do things right, that's what should happen. So, I mean, I guess that's why things seem nostalgic, and Half-Life 1, probably the reason that seems so nostalgic, and what I'm doing right here is I'm trying to see if I can turn the inverted controls off, and there's still no option to. I hate inverted controls. But yeah, Half-Life 1 probably seems so nostalgic because, for one, back in the day, people didn't really do shooters like that. Like, Half-Life totally reinvented the way people played shooters. It was something entirely different. And two, it was a fucking long game. It was a very long game where you traveled a very long way, and like I said, the worlds were done very well, and it felt like you were almost on a journey, to use, lack of better terms. It felt like you were really traveling, and there was a lot of moments in the game that were set pieces, and I mean, it's really not even something you need to explain. If someone's played Half-Life 1, they'll immediately know what I'm talking about when I say that, and if you haven't played Half-Life 1, just how the fuck? But yeah, it's, I guess that's what could make a game nostalgic overall, but yeah, I feel good going back and playing this game.
Here I was, about to go for a nice swim at Shell Beach, and my portal just disappeared right in front of me. If you go find some more of those dragon eggs, I bet this portal will turn on again.
I really do enjoy it. Like I said, this game has a certain place in my mind that it will never leave. This game, along with Pokemon and Half-Life. And even though I honestly was not a big fan of Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, I really respected it because they just did the game really, really well. And the whole environment and the music and everything, I've already explained what they've done, but they did the game really well. And I just simply wasn't really much of much of a fan of the puzzle aspects of the game, like Hyrule Temple. That's all. Or not Hyrule Temple. The Water Temple. That's all I need to say about that. I just really wasn't a giant fan of that. But they pulled the game off so well that I had to really respect it. And even though I wasn't a big fan of the game, there's still moments in that game, like I said, when you're standing in Hyrule Field, that you will remember for the rest of your life. You'll be a 105-year-old man, and you'll still be talking about the Legend of Zelda. I mean, it's something that's never going to leave you. Now here, there's an egg in there, and I'm trying to break it out. I know there's an egg in there. I remember that because this one, when I played it back in the day, I mean, you didn't have walkthroughs, and you couldn't really go on the internet as easy as you can now. You had to use a shitty dial-up and all this, and I knew there was an egg in there, and that stumped me forever ago because I couldn't really find a walkthrough, and eventually I figured it out because there's like cracks on it, but it just wasn't working, so I decided to go back over here.
I'm getting paid a fortune to keep Sheila the kangaroo locked up. The pesky animal must have been causing a lot of trouble for that poor sorceress. I suppose I could accidentally let the kangaroo escape if you were to pay me, say, a small fee. Ah, Spyro, I love your sweet naivete. Your kind-hearted nature might be your downfall someday, but for the time being, it's making me rich. I hope you appreciate this favor I'm doing in letting you out.
That's good of you, mate. No hard feelings, eh?
Right. After all, I'm just doing my job.
I reckon you'd be one of them dragons then.
Yeah, name's Spyro.
Never thought I'd see one. You dragons used to rule this entire world, you know. Then all of a sudden you left. Poof.
Dragons used to live here?
Didn't you know? They say it was over 1,000 years ago, I think.
And they just left?
Yeah, and the weird thing is, after they left, all the magic in the world just sort of went with them. I mean, they say this world used to have magic coming out the wazoo. Flying ships, singing forests, wishing stones, you name it. But when the dragons left, it all just dried up.
Is that why some of the portals don't work?
Yeah, they're starting to fade out too, one by one. Well, I gotta get back home and do some damage control. Come visit anytime you like.
And there's another cutscene. And I wanted to make another example, just bring up old games. If anyone played the second generation of Pokemon, you know, it was Gold, Silver, and Crystal. And I actually played Crystal, I never played Gold and Silver. Even though I have Soul Silver on the DS, I played Crystal back in the day, which was the adventure with Suicune, basically. Just to mention one thing, this is probably the most nostalgic moment in my gaming history, but Eckerteak Town.
Hi, Spyro. To look left or right, press the L2.
Yeah, when you hear the music in Eckerteak Town, it's just, your mind goes crazy for a second, because you're like, oh god, that music, as I just got all the gems in this world. But that's just one of the music where it's just, that will never leave your head. Another good example for the generation before that was Lavender Town. The music in that one, although that one's, you remember that one more specifically because the music was just so strange and kind of eerie and had that creepy feel to it, and there was rumors surrounding it, like people committing suicide back in the day from listening to it and all this stuff. But it's something you're never going to forget, ever. No matter how old you get, you won't forget it. You probably have Alzheimer's and still remember it. But yeah, if you want to play this game, because I know people are going to be asking me, they probably haven't even watched the video this far, they probably already put it in a comment. If you want to play this game and you want to find an emulator for it, Spyro 1 and 2 was very easy to find a ISO that worked. Spyro 3, on the other hand, it was a bitch to get an ISO to, you know, find one. I ended up actually finding one off of a YouTube video, and it had a link down below in the video information, and you had to download it in 3 different parts. And it worked. So far, at least. If I suddenly stop making videos of Spyro 3, it's because I finally broke that egg out of the rock. But it's because this one stopped working. But so far it's worked great. No hiccups, nothing. Anyway, there's the 100%ing this world. So yeah, if you want to find it, you have to find it in a YouTube video somewhere. There's some more Spyro 3 gameplay. There will be a lot more to come, assuming the ISO, the ROM I got works fine. And I'll see all you guys next video. Hope you enjoyed it.